Hello and welcome to the next YouTube video on my channel. Everybody who plays chess actively knows the feeling when you are playing the two knights defense against the Italian game and then out of nothing knight to g5 appears with a completely overpowered fried liver attack. Therefore in this video I will show you two ways how to completely destroy your opponent when he again tries to win against you with the fried liver. So at first I will quickly show you how the fried liver attack works again, and then I will show you both of the traps. So let's not waste time and get started. The fried liver attack, however already said, can only be played against the two knights defense of the Italian game. So it starts with pawns to e4 and e5. Now we bring out our knight on f3 attacking black's pawn here on e5, and our opponent defends the pawn with developing the knight on c6. And now we continue with bringing out our bishop on c4. That's the Italian game. And if here our opponent, or the player who plays the black chess pieces, continues with knight to f6 attacking our pawn here on e4 with the two knights defense, then we play the very aggressive and also the very strong move knight to g5. This is the key, or also called the main move of the fried liver, because now we are threatening a very dangerous fork on f7 with the knight. So if the black army do not know these traps, which I would like to show you in this video, then they will in most of the cases continue with the main line of the fried liver, so pawn to e5, blocking the very important diagonal of our bishop here. But here we just take out the d5 pawn of the black army with our e pawn, also attacking black's knight here on c6, and now the black army takes out our pawn with the knight, and here we sacrifice our knight by taking out black's pawn on f7 with our knight, which is not defended anymore by our bishop here because the diagonal is blocked, forking the queen and the rook here now with our knight. Of course the king now has to take out our knight, because if he does not, then he either loses the queen or the rook, which is of course very bad for the black army. And now the very strong move queen to f3 with check comes. Now we attack the knight here on d5 with the second chess piece, therefore the king has to move on e6 to not immediately lose material, and now he really is like basically in the center of the chessboard, completely lost. We can now continue with, for example, knight to c3, attacking the black knight on d5 with the third chess piece. So now I'm coming to my true traps, which I would like to show you in this video. Of course, we could also just play pawn to h6 in this position. This is actually really called the anti-fried liver defense, because now we can just not move on the very important g5 square with the knight, because then the black army can just take out the knight here without any problems. But if our opponent, so the player who plays the black chess pieces here, decides to play the two knights defense against the Italian game with bishop to c4, then they will of course continue with knight to f6, defending now our Italian game with two knights also attacking our pawn on e4, which is actually very important in the first trap, because here we continue now with knight to g5 to fried liver, and here the black army in the first trap just ignores the threatening, or just ignores the fork which will come on f7 by taking out our pawn here on e4 with the knight. And here it actually would be the better move to not take out the pawn on f7 here with the knight, forking our opponent by attacking the queen and the rook both at the same time, winning material. But here would be really way better to just take out the pawn on f7 with our bishop here with check, forcing the king to move one square down on e7. But if our opponent does the mistake and does not play here with the move with the bishop on f7, but rather is too greedy and decides to fork us here by taking out the pawn on f7, attacking the queen and our rook here in the corner of the chessboard, then we again just act like we don't care about this, because now we play the very strong and aggressive move queen to h4, threatening with checkmate, and then following move here on f2. So here the white army, or our opponent, has to do something to not get checkmated. Like the simple good idea here is just to play queen to e2 to defend the f2 square here with the queen. But on this, we would just continue with knight to d4, attacking the queen here, and also threatening a fork here on c2 now with the knight like this in the following move. But if our opponent isn't that smart to play queen to e2, but he rather makes a big mistake by, for example, playing pawn to g3, attacking our queen here, then this is, how I've already said, a big blunder. Because here we just take out the pawn on g3 with our knight, so we sacrifice our knight. And if the white army takes back with the h-pawn like this, we just simply win our opponent's rook here with check. And if they take back with the other pawn, so here with the f2 pawn, then we can either take out the bishop here on c4 of the white army, or we win again the rook with a very strong fork here, queen to e4. The king has to move away or move the queen here on e2, and we just simply win the rook without any problems anymore. And if the player who plays the white chess pieces here really wants to keep his rook, then he will move with the king on f2, defending the rook now with the queen, so our queen cannot take out the rook, just like that. But here we have a very strong move again, because now we play bishop to c5 with check. Here the king can only move on f1, or he blocks with the pawn, but then we just take out and it's the same thing again. So here they move on f1, we win the rook again by taking it out with our queen here on h1 with check. The king has to move now on e2, and we now either trade queens or we check our opponent with the move on h2 again. And here the king, to not get checkmated, has to move on d3, where he's really in a bad position again, somewhere in the center of the chessboard. But if he plays e1, then queen to f2 is just simply checkmate. Now one thing to the same trap again. Here, after we have taken out white's pawn on e4 with our knight, it is obviously, how I've just told you, mistake to take out now black's pawn on f7 with our knight, forking the opponent because of the following trap then. The best move is, how I've also just said, here to take out the pawn with the bishop, checking our opponent. The king is forced to move on e7, and now we continue with pawn to d4. We continue with attacking our opponent. But if the white army plays another mistake, for example, they do not take out the pawn here on f7 with any chess pieces, but they rather just take out now our knight here on e4, then we again fork our opponent by playing pawn to d5, because now we attack the knight and the bishop both at the same time. Here would be the best option to move with the bishop on d3, and after the black army has taken out our knight here on e4, to capture back with the bishop, and now this position on the chessboard is really again close to equal. So now I come to my second trap, how to completely destroy our opponent when he again tries to play the fried liver attack against us. So here, if we are in this position, we really play the normal variation of the fried liver attack. So we play pawn to d5 to block this diagonal of the bishop here. And here, if our opponent thinks that yes, they've made it, they can fork us, and they capture back our pawn here on d5. We do not take out the pawn here on d5 with our knight now, but we rather play now knight to d4. If they will try to push their pawn here now forward to give free the diagonal for the king's bishop again, threatening a fork here now on f7 again with the knight, then we just let them fork us by taking out this pawn here now on d6 with our queen. Of course, they will be too greedy and just fork us now with the knight, but we, of course, move away with the queen and give them the rook. And we do this by moving away with the queen here now on c6. And if our opponent is too greedy again and takes out a rook here on h8, then this is a big mistake. Because now we take out white's pawn here on g2 with our queen, forcing our opponent's rook here in the corner of the chessboard to move on f1 to not get just taken out. And here we have now the great move queen to e4 with check, and this move really wins the game. Because now the white army only has two options to block the check. Queen to e2 just loses the queen because we take it out with the knight. And the second option is so beautiful, because here if the bishop blocks the check, we have a smothered checkmate with knight to f3. This was the Fritz trap, and this was it already with this video, in which I have shown you two ways how to completely destroy your opponent when he again tries to play the fried liver against you. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like there and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, bye!